There's Carrie over here.
The hawk, he's out.
What? There's a hawk?
Yeah.
Where?
You see him flying?
Oh, there it is. That's cool. Carrie's trying to have a nice peaceful dog walk, but I'm harassing her with this camera because I'm practicing with this thing. This is called the master wheels. So I'm actually controlling this camera. You know, if I turn it this way, I go to the right or left, and over here is my tilt. So I go up and down, and I combine the two to try to get my framing. I will say it can be a little bit confusing at first, but you know, in a lot of big movies and TV show sets, this is how they operate a lot of remote heads. So I'm just trying to get comfortable with this so that I don't suck. Oh crap. Check it out. We could actually see the camera that we're using to film right now. This is the DJI Ronin 4D, but notice that where the camera usually is, there's a cable coming out of it. So if we follow this cable up to the camera up here by itself, and right now I have it on this telescoping monopod. So check it out. I can actually have this camera move upwards. I can add a little bit of depth to this shot by giving it a little bit of this vertical booming motion. Also really excited to check out DJI's first zoom lens on the DL mount, 17 to 28 T3 full frame, so very wide.
Oh, now she sees him.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there she goes.
PETA's on the prowl now. Oh, that squirrel's just taunting PETA now. Now, the concept of separating the camera's head from the body and connecting it with a cable has been around for a while, like the Alexa M, and more recently the Sony Venice camera in the Rialto mode, made famous for Top Gun, where they needed to fit some cinema cameras in a small cockpit. So it reduces the size required for mounting the camera and also the weight up front, so you could carry the rest of the camera on your back. But what makes this 4D Flex really interesting is when you do that, you still maintain this 3-axis gimbal and camera control, so I could still do whatever. And when you're dealing with a fraction of the weight, it really opens a lot of opportunities, like you could have the camera and body up here, control everything while dangling the lens way down below and getting some super low angle shots mounted on things like the slide pod, which isn't designed to carry the entire weight of the 4D. Start finding these combinations which will give you really awesome results with really simple tools. So here's our electric bike setup right here. So we have it underslung here. Got a little vibration isolator here. I don't think this is the best vibration isolator, but it was just same day delivery on Amazon Prime. So that's just attached to this super clamp, which is on the handlebar, which is quick to remove. I could go overhead. The display port gets moved over to the flex here, so I can monitor the shot, and I could actually do things like switch up my ND filters just like that. But of course, we also have all this control over there on the wireless setup. This is the GPS module. I think it mostly helps for horizon,
It
right?
does, yeah. For horizon is like the big one.
There is an adapter, so this piece goes on right here to the hand grip. It adapts to this cable right here for the GPS. And then since most of the weight is just back here,
yeah,
it's so much easier to just rig stuff when your weight's back here,
yeah,
instead of all of it up here.
So how fast can you get this back onto the body?
Oh, so we would just go ahead and power down. Comes out like that.
Cool.
So then this side, I just loosen that. Lining up the red dots.
So that's kind of cool. I mean, you're back to built already.
Then you get your Z-axis back. Eric's got his camera here.
You said bring cameras, so.
Oh, you got it. Alexa 35.
Wow.
Each one of these memory cards is
3 cards and a card reader was $13,100. 26 volt batteries. So we had to do these.
Oh,
so these are the Core Helix dual voltage.
Oh.
So they're 26 and 14.4.
That's cool. Oh, you still got the screen protector on here?
Well, yeah, I'm not taking my screen protector off. I think one of the big things we see a lot, right, is like people trying to do car to cars in the city without permits. This is way more stealth, right?
Yeah.
You can't get pulled over for having this on your bicycle. It's totally legal.
But the bike's not legal.
Yeah, this bike's actually, the Suron, I don't think it's supposed to.
Yeah, Karen couldn't follow that one.
I can't. It's so weird when I'm watching us.
So
So overall, really happy with the e-bike mount footage, and hats off to Carrie for operating a gimbal cam for the first time. I'm excited to be able to get these kinds of shots with very minimal setup. My first attempt was before I got the vibration isolator. You could definitely see the roughness of the road, but I like the perspectives you were able to get. I did also experiment with the motorcycle, and it was great being able to hit those high speeds, but the V-twin engine on the Harley is just very shaky, so even at a standstill. So I think we're just on the wrong platform here. But for now, I think the e-bike with the vibration isolator is a pretty good combination. And here I actually didn't have a separate operator filming Carrie. I basically used active track, where I just tell the camera where to compose Carrie, and I can just focus on riding around and positioning the camera where I want it. And of course, if you're just trying to film off the side of the car like we've done in the past, that's super easy.
Cool being able to just roll down your window wherever and be able to just attach a few suction cups on, and then PETA gets to comfortably operate from inside the vehicle outside of the wind.
So this scene here is where I was telling you about today's sponsor, but turns out they take longer than other brands to approve sponsorship segments, and the embargo is lifting, and I just want to post this video, so I'm making some nice late night edits to go unsponsored on this video. But on the bright side of making poor financial choices, I thought the shot looks pretty cool. And notice as we pick up speed, the horizon does tilt a little bit because we did not use the GPS unit here, and I could fix it in post pretty easily, but throughout this entire video, we are not doing any sort of post stabilization or horizon leveling in post, just so you can see what the camera is doing on the gimbal.
All right, how does this footage look? Carrie's driving right there, and there's the setup, and I'm kind of controlling it right here. Now, this is a backpack that PGY Tech makes, and it's specifically designed for this camera. See how we have that base plate down there? Locks into here. Gotta reroute this through that top pocket and reattach it. There's still some open pockets if you want to store things like your lenses or maybe your grips, but we can go ahead and close this up now. And then if you look on the side of the flex right here, we can go ahead and just hand thread this on. There's USB-C ports right there, which we can plug in. And that is basically our hand grip adapter. So now we can go ahead and take this off. Basically left with a backpack, and I have all my controls that I need right here. So there's also a cold shoe mount right here that I could attach the monitor to. The one downside of using it like this is that you do lose that Z-axis stabilization, but as long as you're careful with your steps and you do that ninja walk, then you could generally get away with some pretty smooth shots. I was testing this setup out over at our coffee shop while they were getting ready to open up for the morning, but it was very nice in times like that where I could get into really tight places. Now, I also didn't have to worry about my arms burning after a few minutes. Definitely see this being really useful for someone that uses the Ronin 4D for live events. So handheld setup in backpack mode, definitely a good option to have. Something that's really basic but also very useful is just a 3/8 inch adapter to essentially like a light stand, a baby pin. Go ahead and throw that on. So yeah, I just got the camera on the bag, but all the way up there. Check that out. I'm loving how easy it is to get a camera 10-15 feet in the air and still having full control over it. I think we've all been there where the ideal camera placement is up high, but our fluid head tripods only go up to 5-6 feet high. So then you start pulling out ladders and doing sketchy stuff to try to figure out how to get the camera up there. But here it's literally just throw it on a stand, and light stands go way higher than tripods, so easy day. So here's the flex mount itself. So basically the camera comes off the 4D and you just attach it like that, secures in, and when you see that little red right there, that's a safety so it can't accidentally come undone. Down below we have the 1/4 20 and 3/8 inch, and I have noticed that it is a little bit recessed in this version, at least. Maybe that's just because it's a pre-production version, but as long as your screws are reasonably long, it shouldn't be a problem. One thing I do wish is if this cable was detachable, so whenever I'm trying to attach it to things like this, I could pull off the plug, spin it on. Right now I have it attached to this suction cup thing. Got this off Amazon Prime, same day delivery again. So I'm gonna mount it on here, and one of the things that's important to consider is where this cable comes out of. So the cable is forward, so in this case I'll go ahead and just make the front forward. So one of my favorite shots of all time is Children of Men, where they have that oneer inside of the vehicle and it's like looking around at everybody. Shot by Chivo. Highly recommend watching that if you haven't yet. They have this really extravagant setup to have the camera do that motion and get those shots. And this, I'm kind of thinking, could give us a low budget version of that. So there is a power button here, which is nice, which also doubles as a record button. So let's power this thing up here. Now we are recording off of the 4D and we have the zoom lens on here. So the reason why I was saying that the cable placement is important is because this is a forward right here where we see the cable, and I do have the ability to turn all the way over here behind itself, and I could even go around over to Dylan, so about 270 degrees, but this is as far left as I can go. Center back out, so we're here again, and then on the right, it's the same type of deal. I could go to the right to Dylan, come back to me, and I could go all the way 270 degrees to carry, but I can't make a full rotation. That's my limit again there. So this gimbal itself does not have the ability to do an infinite 360 pan here. I can still look up and down. Now that does change depending on what kind of lens you have set up there. Sometimes the LiDAR does bump, but if you're not using LiDAR, then that's usually not a problem. And this is because we're in underslung mode. It's really handy having just the built-in ND, so when I'm back here in the dark, I can just go ahead and lighten things up, and then if we need to go and look outside, then we can expose for that with an ND. Zoom capability is pretty awesome though. It feels definitely like secret agent status. Now that we have this camera set up though, we just need some really crazy action to happen.
Can I get a Mexican pizza?
Could I also do a Mexican pizza? So two?
One Mexican pizza?
Two Mexican pizzas?
I hope they come with lots of fire sauce.
Oh yeah, definitely can't forget the fire sauce.
All right, Dylan, I'm gonna check for the fire sauce.
I think they got some fire sauce.
This just might be the scene that tops the Children of Men shot, actually. So this right here is your joystick, so go ahead and just kind of pan around and look around. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So there's a box around you right now, so if you want the focus to come to you, you actually press that button right there.
Oh.
Yeah, press it, and it'll come to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then you can
Nice.
rotate around, look around. Yeah. Kind of cool, huh? Pretty easy, right?
Yeah, surprisingly easy.
And that is how you film a drive-through with a cinema camera on a gimbal, full frame, 17 mil in ProRes. All right, that's a lot of data now. Here, give me. I think it could also be interesting on a monopod and being used as a pole cam, but depending on the way you have it mounted may have some limitations on its range of motion. So right now it's upright, good range of motion here. Now if I go straight out like this, I do have pretty limited pan capability. So this is my far left and far right. And if you go completely inverted, you have your pan range back. So you basically have the least amount of range when you're straight out like this, and you start getting it back right when you're about like maybe 45 degrees-ish. So what's kind of cool about this monopod is that I can adjust my angle right here, or if you're on a ball head, you could do that as well. So now even if the stick's mounted this way, as far as the gimbal's concerned, it's mounted upright, so I have that full range. So the 4D fully set up with the new zoom lens, which is 12.35 pounds. So this is kind of our baseline, fully set up, handles, remove the head. So we line up the red, lock it in. And this is the display cable. So this is optional, but this will relocate the display cable to up here. Line this up, relocate these hand grips from the camera body. And if you want to bring the monitor along with it, you do need tools for this part. So usually it's attached right here, so it comes out the side and hooks on like that. But we relocate that to the bottom, take this and stick this in the new display port. This doesn't quite fit on the scale. How do I weigh this thing here? I'll just take off the handles and put it on like 6.6 pounds, so about half the weight right there. Apparently that's how much Carrie weighed when she was a newborn. That's kind of crazy to think about. 6 pounds? We used to be that light. Let's say you're mounting this on the side of a car or whatever, you don't need the monitor or handles there, so if we strip that off, that's 4.5 pounds. Pull off the LiDAR. Lens is definitely one of the heavier components, but that's understandable because it's a zoom lens. So we have our DL primes. This is the 24. It is at 3.6 pounds.
Just realized I forgot to take off the LiDAR's counterweight, so we could shave a little more off.
But I'm really excited to see that DJI has put out a zoom lens on the DL mount. Definitely helps fill that gap in the wide angle range from 17 to 28, because with the DL mounts, there's the 24, 35, and 50, and there is a wider one, but that is not covering full frame. But this is where I plead to DJI to give us a mid-range zoom lens. And this is another thing that's new. This is the L mount. So DJI has joined that L mount alliance. And that's cool because ever since Panasonic came out with the S5 II, we've really been utilizing these L mount lenses. These are all prime, pretty similar in size and weight. Advantage of these are that these are all f1.8 instead of the f2.8 we get out of DJI's lenses. And as soon as I mount it on, it seems like the camera recognizes it and has full control over it and works well well with this LiDAR, even for that autofocus. Definitely happy to see that the compatible lens lineup is growing for this, which is obviously super important for a pro level camera. And in the box with the Flex also is this, they call this the pan axis lock. So apparently if we want to mount a large lens like a cinema lens, obviously it's not going to fit within this gimbal itself, but if we want to put it on a tripod, this here has some 1/4-20s down here. So I guess you attach this onto the tripod, and the lens itself would have a lens support, which you would also attach to the tripod. So that's how you would attach a huge lens onto here. So not exactly sure what the pricing on this Flex cable is, but I'll put it right here once I find out. And yeah.
Right, so time for some overall thoughts. Now, if there's one thing that we have to give DJI credit for, it's that they make really complex advanced technology very easy to use. For example, drones, right? They're cameras that are stabilized on a gimbal, and oh yeah, they fly, and kids can operate it. It's like, hey grandpa, look what I can do. And me personally, I feel like the most impressive thing about this Ronin 4D is it makes some complicated stuff very easy. For example, think about any camera that you want, and you want to put it on a gimbal, have it stabilized, and also have wireless control over that gimbal so you can aim the camera. You also want wireless video so you can monitor what you're shooting, and also wireless focus, right? That's quite a few steps, right? You got to get the camera on the gimbal, and you got to figure out how to get a wireless video signal on there. So maybe attach a Teradek. You got to figure out how to rig it on there where it's not in the way, and then maybe SDI or HDMI connect that video signal out of it, and also powering the Teradek. Maybe a 2-pin LEMO if your camera has it, or if it doesn't, maybe you need a DTAP. If your camera doesn't have a DTAP, then you got to attach a V mount somewhere to have that DTAP power, and then you have to rig it onto the cage, which now of course your camera needs a cage if it hasn't already, because you also need rails so you could attach a wireless focus unit, mount that on, figure out how to power that as well. Maybe you only have one DTAP, you got to split that out. You have to pair it with the hand unit, make sure the hand unit has power, and you have to calibrate the lens so it rotates just enough, and hopefully your lens has hard stops. I mean, it's a process, right? But here literally I just have to push the power button to turn on the camera, and then the power button to turn on the wireless receiver, and then everything kind of connects itself automatically. And now I have gimbal control with this joystick, I have wireless video with great range, and also I have focus control right here on this wheel. And yes, there are limitations, like how big of a lens can you put on here while maintaining that gimbal control, and what kind of hand unit can you use to focus this. But if your shoot can work within these parameters, there's just not an easier way to get all this working and set up like this. It's all very well integrated. And I think when this camera first came out, there was a lot of mixed feelings. There was a lot of us going like, what the hell? And there's also a lot of people going, what the hell? Now, I've heard the theories out there that this might be too much of a niche camera, or this is going to be the next abandoned camera. But honestly, if I were to bet, I think there's more impressive things on here than there are quirks. So because of that, I think there's a future here, and especially with this Flex cable, it just expands on the camera that we've already had. Now, do I think there's room for improvement? Yeah, I think it would be nice to have the readout speed of the sensor could be a little faster with that rolling shutter. But overall, there's a lot of things that this camera can do that is legitimately useful. You know, like the LiDAR when manual focusing. And look, the tripod that this camera's on right now is just some super lightweight travel tripod, and it's essentially now been converted into a fluid head. It's hard not to be impressed with this thing. But anyways, that's my opinion. Let me know down there in the comments what your thoughts are. All right, let me go ahead and pull up some comments from the last 4D video that we made. Have to admit, this is one of the most innovative cameras I've seen in a long time, especially with that mount swapping system. The price point will be interesting to hear, but I'm curious about how it will be in a real shoot. Is it overly gimmicky, or will it provide needed tools? Excited to see where this thing goes. Frank says, after watching the A7 IV release, I truly admire how DJI is revolutionizing the cinema camera. And I do believe that they'll one day dominate the pro consumer market. You know what they really need to do? Give me a Ronin 4D mini, because DJI has the little pocket too, which is a little action camera and a gimbal, right? Cool. And then this up here as a pro camera. I need something in the middle. Come on, DJI, please. Seth says we should step back and realize how insanely advanced this is. Imagine if someone from 2010 could watch this video. My mind was blown repeatedly. But I would say that pretty much wraps it up for this video. Let me know in the comments what you think about this Flex system. Does this add more capability? Does this kind of give you more ideas on things you can do with it? Or is this a gimmick making the gimmick camera a super gimmick? All right, that's it. Bye.